All right, welcome everyone to our monthly webinar for quantum imaging membership. Today, we're going to get into some more subconscious explosions. Yesterday, I just was in a really good mood, and I was just, posting, man, some of my inner thoughts on how I see this thing, some of the results that I've seen, and some of the results that you guys have seen, and whatnot. And so, I was just sharing with the social media world yesterday. Just see if I could help people out in any small way that I possibly could. But today we're going to talk about it some more, and some of the do's and don'ts when conditioning the subconscious mind. All right. This is very important because within the subconscious mind is where the mystery of creation takes place. That's the vortex in which it's almost like the black hole. This is where, all of the light gets pulled down or sucked into this unknown. And then on the other side is a completely different reality awaiting the individual. And so today we're going to talk about what to do and how to program the subconscious mind, what not to do, and some minor add-ons that you can utilize when you're doing your practices. All of this comes down to meaning. And so this is what I'm here to do, is to continuously give you guys meaning, so that when you are practicing, there is no doubt, there's no skepticism, because that's the true goal. As it says, without faith, it is impossible to please them. And so I try to work my way around the logical mind by providing enough detail so that, the unseen, your feelings and your thoughts, become just as real as what you see as objects in space. The moment that happens, man, the sky's the limit for the individual, because you have now attached yourself and associated yourself wholeheartedly to the cause and the phenomenon of life, which is images, thoughts, and emotions. Once that becomes your first stop, instead of objects in space or the material world as we call it, then you will be able to create what it is that you want to create for yourself. Over the last couple of weeks, I've really, really, really been focused in on my own particular practices. You know what I mean? And things have just been happening. You know what I mean? And so I'm just in a really, really good space, man. You know what I mean? Especially after that last pop-up call that we have. I'm going to be making another chart based off of that information so that you guys can couple that with your quantum spreadsheets, right, and your checks and balances sheet when you're doing your 21-day practices. So it's going to be a flow chart, from day 1 to 17, boom, 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 boom. Day 7 through 10, boom, 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 boom. Day 18 through 21, boom, 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 boom. So it's going to be a chart showing you exactly what you need to be doing in your 21 days, along with some add-ons, which you'll take from this presentation today and utilize it as well in your practice, all right? So the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is, as you see, it's a picture. It's an imperfect nail down on the end, right? Never, ever dwell on any imperfections of yourself or anyone else, right? Never do it. Just never do it. Never say what you don't got. Never say what you can't have. A lot of times what people do is we'll make these statements, like, if you don't have something, right? And that's a lot of times it's geared and created to try to trigger you to get you to have a response. And a lot of times it works, right? Sometimes it works. But what we find out when we read these studies on conditioning, right? You must change your inner dialogue and perception around whatever it is that you're seeking to attain, right? And we'll get into that later, while a lot of times how just repeating a mantra over and over and over and over doesn't work, right? So that's the equivalent to somebody telling you something for shock value, right? But then you really haven't changed your ideals. And that takes more than just saying it once or saying it twice. It takes a constant, repeated pattern of conditioning in order to reverse or change the trajectory of your sense of self and how you see yourself in regards to the situation at hand. So if we know this, then we don't even have to go down that avenue. We're not going to dwell on any of our imperfections. What we're going to do is, and the key word is dwelling on it, like every day you're just saying, I don't got it, this ain't that type of thing. Because let me tell you something. When you dwell on your imperfections, that's a form of complaining. And complaining, right, actually kills neurons in the hippocampus. This is a neurological fact. Complaining, i.e. dwelling on your imperfections, your lack, etc., kills the intelligent structures that's connecting electricity from one point of the brain to the next to get you to come up with ideas, solutions, etc., are becoming murdered by your dwelling on your lack, your imperfection, or what you don't have. On the very structure that's going to give you the idea and cognitively come up with an idea to come up from out of that situation. Okay? So never dwell on any of your imperfections. I don't care what it is, right? What you do is, it's one thing to dwell on it, but when you know this information, then you have something to act on. And that's the difference between you guys and the general population. Because some people will say, well, what am I to do? Well, they don't know how to program themselves, right? So what we're doing here is, instead of dwelling on our imperfections, we identify where we may have an issue, and from that point forward, we utilize these principles to change that condition internally by imaging. So always see yourself as a winner and always lift others up to a state of winning that's close to you, right? Anything less than this imprints the subconscious mind with limitation and lack. Anything short of that, you're telling yourself internally, I don't have it, I ain't got it, I don't know how to get it, right? And so that becomes a detriment to whatever it is that you're seeking to get. This is what makes Donald Trump so good, right? This dude never admits to defeat. I don't know if y'all noticed that or not, but he never, ever, 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 ever. I don't care how many facts are presented. I don't care who's saying it. He never accepts the notion that he lost in anything. And if you look at his track record, what you will notice is this guy has a history of winning. You may not like his demeanor. You may not like his character. You might not like him as a person. But I'm talking about his psychology that has gotten him to the point where he is today, which is, I don't care what's going on, I'm never accepting defeat under any circumstance. Okay? So this is very important. Next, The dominant of two feelings is always the one expressed in the external world, right? So you can say you want money, right? You can say you want your business to grow, right? You can say you want whatever you say you want, but do you really, really feel that way is the question. Because the dominant feeling is the one that's going to express itself in the external world by some type of situation, circumstance, scenario, etc. So how do we work on changing the feeling? We change the feeling by constantly appropriating the image. Because now the mind and the brain is being conditioned to accept that as a reality. This is why it's difficult at first. You see what I'm saying? It's difficult at first for you to be able to settle into what it is that you say that you want. Because one, you probably haven't experienced it before. And what is experience? Experience is another classy word or way to say memory, which is right back into the hippocampus. Experience means you have a memory of something. You've done it before. So you see how this whole thing keeps going back to memory, right? Data, etc. So the dominant of two feelings is always the one expressed in the external world. So, I chose to use this picture. You got, here it is, you talking about, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do this, you this little guy, but yet you've been had the same program running in the opposite direction for the last 5 years, and it's turned into this big sumo wrestler. That's the dominant feeling, and here you are trying to resist and push back, and you're like, I'm not making any ground, I can't even move this guy, right? So you have to get your weight up. This is where the practice comes in. That's why I tell people, people be seeing these testimonials that y'all be sharing, right? And I know what they be thinking. Oh, man, they did it in 2 or 3 days. But let me tell you what I have noticed. When people first sign up, they always get some type of jolt. It's like an electrical kickback when you first sign up and let you know, yes, you're in the right place. Yep, all right, okay, now that we've given you your complimentary gift, okay, now it's time to do the heavy lift. That's usually how it goes. And so, this thing requires work. Okay? So, example, I am is stronger than I will. Always see yourself having exactly what you want. To suggest that I will have it is to imply that you do not have what you seek. Right? To say one thing and act another way is running contrary to what you say you're doing. Okay? So it's a scripture that says, choose today which one you're going to serve. Who you going to serve? It really comes down to a choice, and then it comes down to what it is that you're going to allow into your senses once you make that decision. What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you listening to? Minister G got the audio Bible on every day. Every day. I'm cracking scriptures every day. I'm in my quantum bag every day. Every day. This is what I'm doing. But constantly perfecting myself so that I can give it back to you guys. Right? So that's the key. Always remember that the strongest feeling of two is the one that is always going to be the predominant source that exemplifies itself in the external world. Okay? Next. Getting steamy. Getting a little hot here. Hold on. Take a drink. Hold on. All right. Very important here. The subconscious doesn't function well off of stark commands. She's like a special lady. She enjoys persuasion rather than force. So people be sitting there all day. I am rich, 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 It takes a little bit more than that. That's to help you get the wheels turning. The I am statement is to help you get the wheels turning so that your logical mind can start processing what you're trying to accomplish. But then you have to have a whole brain experience. So she's like a special lady. She enjoys persuasion rather than force. You must first paint a clear picture of what you want, and then start to ask yourself these type of questions. This is how you persuade her. What would this experience feel like if it was true? What would I now be doing if the goal that I am envisioning was attained? This is persuasion. Now you're starting to ask. You have a questionnaire. So you ever been to those places where people trying to sell you stuff? You know, they, what do you call it, time shares or whatever? Hold on 1 second, y'all. Hold on. All right. People trying to sell you stuff, and they hit you with these questionnaires, right? See, the science of the question is this. The question starts to trigger, right, concepts in your mind about whatever it is that they're asking you. All right? So the question starts just like they say the best thing to do is ask questions. Why? Because it gets the mind circulating. Right? Because the mind's natural mechanism is to solve problems. It's looking to figure things out. So to ask a question, right, is a way to see the subconscious to say, okay, baby, all right, now listen, it's something that I want here, and what do you think about it, right? How do you include her in on the process? Baby, tell me what you feel about this. How would you feel about it if this was true? Right? What would you do? You know what I mean? If this situation came to fruition. So this is how you persuade it. You have to learn how your mind works. So constant mantras without feelings are mute in attempting to persuade the subconscious mind. She's a woman with expensive taste. You just can't. It takes a little bit more than that. She's not a cheap, McDonald's meal that she's going to be satisfied with that. For the $2.99, it don't work that way. Right? So you have to approach yourself that way. So when you're sitting down doing your visualizations, you should ask yourself a question before you begin. What would this experience be like if it was true? Because that's going to start to elucidate the imagery in your mind. Your imagination is going to start to run wild, which is what you wanted to do. So it's just not sitting there repeating, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. No, that's not the key. The key is to know that I am rich or I am healthy, right? Or I am happy, or I am joyful, right? The key is to know that I am statement and then immediately start to ask yourself the question, okay, what would it feel like what does happiness feel like for me? What does that look like? That might look like a bunch of vacationing. That might look like the casino for some people, because people are happy when they're there. Like, it just depends on what floats your boat. It could be on a yacht. That makes you feel good, right? So you have to start to ask yourself these questions so it becomes easier for your mind to generate the current necessary for the subconscious mind to take over the operation. Okay? So next, whatever you have, and this is very important. This is like really, really, really important. Whatever you have in your consciousness at bedtime is what you're delivering to your lover, better yet, better known as your subconscious. The waking 2/3 of your day, once you've awakened, is a product of the simulated data you processed the day before or that night. If you do not deliberately program your mind at night with what you prefer to experience in the coming days, months, years, you are leaving your life to repeated patterns of your current condition. So you're not breaking any old habits. All right? Anybody that got questions, we'll take them toward the end. So remember your question and we'll take it toward the end. So if you do not deliberately program your mind at night with what you prefer to experience in the coming days, months, and years, you are leaving your life open to repeated patterns of your current condition, which in many cases can be worse because you had an argument you didn't do nothing about, you had a disagreement you didn't do nothing about, you had a situation financially that you didn't do nothing about. All of these things, it's like your life is like a movie. So it's all of these little scenes on this movie strip here that's being consolidated. Because remember, when you're developing film, right? Remember if you're familiar with the way that photographers develop film, what do? They take the negative and they drop it down in this solution, don't they? There's a solution that you have to drop the image in order to get the picture to develop on the film. The solution is the equivalent to the subconscious mind. Shit, I could do a presentation on that the same way that I did with hatching chicks. It's everywhere. Once you start to see this thing, you can see this process in every single thing. So I'm going to tell you, I got a red lamp. When I'm in my basement doing my thing, I got my red lamp on doing my visualizations because I take everything that I see in the external world and use it as an amplifier for my practice. So in the photographer's room, he got a bunch of red light, right? And we know red is at the base in the system of the chakras. We know that the color red is at the base, but see, that is our primal force. That's the initiating spark. So I'm looking for that spark to be initiated in the moment of conception when I'm dropping my images off into the subconscious dominion of my mind. So your life is like a movie. It's on these strips. And who said it in that rap? Drake. He said, and life is like a movie. The camera's always rolling. Right? So the camera always rolling. And so this process is going on day and night, every day, whether you're conscious of it or not. The difference is when you become conscientious of it, you now take control of your life. And see, people think, this is what people think. People think that when they wake up in the morning, they free agents. They think they free agents. They think they can get up and go sign a contract any goddamn way. I go do this happened, we just leave the day to chance. It's just anything can happen. It's a new day, I'm just expecting anything can happen. Yeah, you're right. Anything can happen, but it's going to be associated with the previous trails that you dropped down in the subconscious part of your being. So let me tell you the truth. Here's the truth. The only free will you got is on how you're going to respond to the unconscious creations that you took to bed with you the night before, the week before, the month before. So as these things develop and they meet you in the physical world, it's not free. It's really not free will, but you think it is because you are unconscious of the process in which you've been created. So now, when your baby shows up in the physical world, all you're left to do is to respond. And how you going to react now? That's the only thing left. It's how you're going to respond and react to what it is that you created. But what it is that you've been working on, it's done. It's predestined. You already did it. So here's the kicker. You're already living in the future. You're already in the future. What you did yesterday and what you took with you last night is, listen. Your thoughts, feelings, and emotions are not things that go in the past. So if you think today that you felt, thought, heard, saw, etc., that it's going to leave itself right here in this moment today, sorry. It is looking for a host to materialize and give it back to you in some physical form in the near future. So every day you're preparing yourself for tomorrow. Scarface said it in one of his raps. Why my life gotta have it yesterday? Why can't I memorize tomorrow and live my life as yesterday? Whatever that divine spark came in with that line, man, let me tell you, man, they gave him in really, really, really good fashion. Because, boy, that's the truest thing ever said to a certain degree in hip-hop. If they really understood that line, like, man, listen, why my life got to have it yesterday? Why can't I memorize tomorrow and live my life as yesterday? Meaning, why can't I see what I want to see tomorrow and it be my experience in the now? That's dope, man. That's dope. So once we awake our free, that's the only free will that you have. How are you going to respond to this thing? Right? So here's an example. This is Minister Jew. Now, we did a pop-up call Thursday. I'm talking about roosters, chicks, and hens, right? That was hard in my consciousness all day that day. The next day, right? The next day, I'm out walking and I stroll upon voila. So the physical world is only mirroring the processes of my mind in my conversation the day before. Because I went to bed with that on my mind. Right? That call was like at 9 or 10 o'clock. So this is how this thing works. Right? And this was a statue. So I'm taking all the synchronicity and signs, and it said, oh, okay, Jew, you got to make it alive, Jew. So we'll make the spreadsheet, right? And then we're going to take it from, like you see the movies, what's that one movie? Forget the name of the movie. Like they be in a museum and all these wax figures, and it's like a kids movie or something, I think. Like I forget the name of it. But they be in this museum, and they think that all of these wax figures in the museum and statues are just statues, but at nighttime, all of these things come alive. Like, you know, and it'd be a war in there, and dinosaurs, and kings and queens, and mummies, and all kind of stuff. So you got to give it life. How do you give it life? You give it life. Right, there you go, night at the museum. That's right. You give it life by committing yourself to the practice at night a night at the museum. You're damn right. At night, when things are transferred over to the subconscious, it becomes alive. You see? So then it says, God calls into existence the things that do not exist. Romans 4:17. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Who is God? My own consciousness. My own conscious and subconscious mind. Working together to formulate and process data to project on this holographic canvas. So it don't exist yet? Okay, not yet. But the more I see it, the more I feel it, the more I practice it, the more I quantum image it, the more I quantum field trip it, then it will exist. But see, I'm going to tell y'all something. Y'all got to dedicate yourselves to this. Right? It becomes, you have to. There's no other way around it. You can't jump around and jump in and jump out. Nope, don't work that way. Don't work that way. I'm just going to keep it up. Thousands of y'all. It don't work that way. You got to stay in your zone. Whatever that zone is, you got to stay in that zone. Right? You find some information that you vibe with, and then see, that's why I post a testimonial, so the people can see. Look, oh, this is really happening over here. It's really happening. We're not making this up. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to get in your zone, man. You just do. And you got to take pride in it. Be happy. Get in your zone. Make it feel good that you're in the process. Okay? Okay? Uh-oh. Oops. Oh, I didn't even know how to do that on this thing. I just found out a new, oh, that's cool. So anyways, as I was saying, remain faithful to the process. That's the key, right? And I'm going to get these worksheets printed up. We'll get them out to you sometime this week, hopefully before Thursday. I'm going to have F, who helped me create it. He's really good at making them type of things, man. And we get it out to you guys, all right? So, next. Don't waste time on regret or feelingly on mistakes. To constantly do so infects and makes the subconscious non-fertile. So every time you're like, damn, I messed up. Dang. I wish I could, man, if I could do it all over. Dang. If the past is haunting you, revise it and make it benefit you in the now. So it's a method to use madness, like the positron. Yeah, I know people can't get past it. They be all in their feelings about it. And, man, I remember this happened to me, and rightfully so in some cases. People got hurt. People got abused. People got traumatized all kind of ways. And so, you before you didn't know how to deal with it. You had just walking around with the pain and the trauma. Bag lady. You're going to hurt your back, dragging all them bags like that. So, if the past is haunting you, simply revise it and make it benefit you in the now. So arguments through the day, disappointments through the day, should all be revised before going to sleep. Never carry those bags with you as you journey into the universal substance consciousness. Never do that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because you're just setting yourself up for more insanity and madness later at some point. So, as your day comes to an end, right? And see, here's the thing. This is why you guys got to get in your own balance and flow of this thing. You may say, okay, I'm going to do my visualization. It's 7 days in a week. And we're doing it for 21 days straight. You might say, okay, I'm going to do my visualization on whatever my immediate goals is on 5 of those days, at night before I go to bed, in the morning when I wake up, and sometime in the daytime. Sunset is a really powerful hour too, right? Because it's symbolic in a lot of ways, emergent the conscious and the subconscious, or the companionship between the sun and the moon, right? So I'm going to do that for 5 days. And 2 days out of the week, I'm going to dedicate myself to revision, right? So you might have had a couple things happen to you this week, right? And you might spread it out. You say you might do your revision day maybe on Wednesday and Saturday, right? That way you give yourself a few days in between, and you keep notes. You're like, okay, I remember this happened. I wasn't too pleased about that, or that happened. It didn't really go the right way. So on Wednesday, you make sure that if something happened between, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, on Wednesday, you go back to your notes and you say, okay, I'm going to revise those on Wednesday night. Then Thursday, Friday, right? Or you say, okay, I'm going to revise those Saturday night if something happened in between. So you kind of spread it out. So you start to get in your own zone and creative juices of how you're going to utilize these techniques. Right? Okay? And then you have yourself a balanced 21-day approach to making sure that you're not carrying any luggage with you moving forward, and also making sure that you're creating your immediate future as you march into the future to meet yourself. Right? So, in the group, private Facebook group, back there, I was telling everybody, hey, post some records back here, some inspirational songs that deal with this information that make you feel good about what you're doing, you're practicing, etc. And this is one of my favorites, man. It's by Kirk Franklin, Imagine Me, And in Ephesians 5:19, it says, singing songs and hymns and spiritual songs amongst yourselves and making music to the Lord in your hearts. Right? So make yourself a playlist full of instrumentals that make you feel good. Play the instrumental while visualizing your goal from the end and drop off to sleep. So say, for instance, me, Minister Jew. I'm doing my visualizations, right? I'm about to get into my visualizations, right? And let's just say I'm dealing with money, right? And I'm going to the 119th Psalm, and I'm going to say, deal bountifully with thy servant, that I may live and keep thy word, right? So I'm asking the depths of my own being to deal abundantly, bountifully with me, so that I may live, so that I may be able to enjoy life. What Jay-Z say, 9 to 5 is how you survive. I ain't trying to survive. I'm trying to live it to the limit and love it alive, right? That could even be a mantra. Like, I done took these raps and made these raps into mind juggernauts. You know what I mean? So you may say that before you get into your visualization, right? That's your programming. That's your word programming. Your Microsoft Word document, your Word program, that's your Word doc, right? So get the file open, right? Okay, boom. I got the file open. My intention is, I know what my intention is because I've said this mantra, I've said this I am statement, I've said this lyric, this bar, whatever, to get my mind going. Now that I got my mind focused on that particular goal via this language that I'm speaking, right? Now I cut my tune on, right? Imagine me, I'm getting in my zone, right? And now I'm listening to the music, and I already know how this song makes me feel internally. I get all tingling on the inside. I'm feeling good. My mind is sparkling, right? I'm feeling the spirit moving through me. Certain records actually, like, I have an experience, like, right in the middle of my forehead. This record does that. The Imagine Me record does that. R. Kelly's I Wish record does that for me. The guitar instrumental on Lawrence Hill, The X Factor, man, that's like one of my favorites, right? And Stevie Wonder's Always joint. Like, certain records just trigger a feeling inside of me that it's like I'm expanding. I can't really explain anything outside of that. I feel like I'm expansive, right? And so I'm quite sure all of you guys have different records that do that to you when you listen to it. But you create you a playlist, and now you're listening to this, and instead of the words playing, because now you just got the instrumental going, but your body has already been conditioned to how it makes you feel when you hear this musical symphony together playing. Now you're visualizing the entire time while you're listening to this 2-3 minute record, right? Because now you have a feeling component matched with an image component that's been given direction by a word component. Man, now you're cooking with gas and oil. You're cooking. So create you a playlist. Get you about 7-8 records that you know, that's your jams. Get the instrumentals for them and let them rip. Now, this is the liberal arts, 7 liberal arts. And I'm going to point out music to you guys, which is right here. The step right below astronomy is music, right? Music is high up on the list. The only thing above it is the cosmos. And so I've shown y'all how to use that on the tattoo party when we start to use astronomical and astrological objects in space to amplify. When Paul tells you to take Xanus and Apollo, which translates to the sun and Jupiter, when we start to utilize these bodies to amplify. So these things become amplifying forces, right? Music is right below that. So we want to tap into that. We want to tap into that, right? So get your playlist and start tonight. Or if you're somewhere in your 21 days, and you can start it whenever. But utilize this, okay? All right? Hold on, y'all. All right. So at this time, I'm going to open up the lines. Somebody had a question. I think it was viewer number 5. Press star 6 to unmute your line. If you got any questions or anything you want to share, now's the time. So please press star 6 on your phone to unmute your line. If you got any questions and or if you want to share it, star 6.
Hey, Drew, this is G Street. What's good, man?
Hey, what's poppin'?
Hey, man, so question. It's funny how these things happen, but the other week you had something where you were, one of the calls you were talking about Tesla and how he saw things and he didn't really know what was happening at first. So, long story short, I was reading up about animals and, like how there can be signs in real life to you, whatever. So two of the animals that I was in my room and I was just chilling and a hawk flies by. And the hawk just started going back and forth. I was like, all right, so I look up the hawk. And then I started thinking about jaguars. It was crazy, like golden jaguar from the movie and all this other stuff. So I go to look at what they are, and they both have to do with vision. I mean, the jaguar is kind of at night, so like the subconscious, and the hawk kind of like the daytime. But why I said it's crazy how it shakes out, man, is like these, I don't know if you call them dreams or visions, but they turn it up, like turning up to the point where I'll just be sitting down or I'll be laying down, and when I say things pop in my head, it's like I'm seeing a movie or I'm hearing a movie or I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it. And sometimes when I'm just chilling, it's going to sound how it sounds. Like I'm in two places at one time. And it's, on one hand, I feel like I'm fortunate to have that kind of vision, but on the other hand, sometimes, man, it's a mental it's a mental challenge, man. Like I keep it a buck, man. Sometimes it feels like I'm going crazy, and from a logical standpoint, because you talked about it, I know what's happening, but in the moment, I'm cool, and then I gotta dream about something I'm trying to forget about, or something that it would be cool if it happened, but I can't obsess over it, or something else. And it's so real. I mean, I won't necessarily say I can touch it, but when I tell you I see it, it's like I'm in this place, and I'm in the place that I'm in real life. I kind of been struggling with that over the past 2 weeks, 10 days, man.
Okay. All right. So cool. How can I start this out, man? Well, one, G, you've had an experience where you've overcome something, and whenever that happens, I know a person's been practicing, right? So whenever I get these type of conversations from people, I know that they have been practicing to some degree regularly, because you're strengthening the structure that allows you to tap into vision, right? So when that happens, it's a passage in Daniel where he's engaged by Gabriel, and he's laying down on the riverbank, and he's transported like 200 years into the future, right? And he's seeing what's going to happen 200 years in the future to his people. And then it says when he comes back, when he comes back into his body, he says he doesn't feel well. The word they use, they say he faints. You know what I mean? So the thing is this. The thing is this. If you feel like it's too much for you to keep going in that direction, then you just come off the gas a little bit. You know what I mean? Until you start to feel more comfortable in that zone. Remember, it's a new place. It's a new experience. So some wiring has to get adjusted, right? You're tapping into new wiring. You're tapping in. What's happening is you're utilizing different pathways in your brain that previously you had not been using, right? So like anything else, it takes time to get adjusted. Okay? Let me see if I can pull that passage up. Let me see. That way you can see.
I'll be particular about the part that's hard, man. Like, so what happened recently is, I had a breakup, and what's been happening is I see like my family in the future telling me like this is how it happens. Like she'll be talking to me, I'll see myself, I see my kids, and why it's hard is right now everything outside of me says, dude, you're tripping. It's not going to happen. It's over. But inside, I have these visions where it's supercharged. So sometimes it really does feel like I'm losing my sanity.
Well, here's the thing. Right? Remember what I said tonight. When you realize that vision, right, feelings and thoughts and emotions are the real reality, and then you realize that the external world is the secondary principle, right? All that means when you say that to me is that you have not totally become convinced that the consciousness is first. Once that becomes the center point of your understanding, you won't feel crazy about what's going on in the physical world. Because you'll already know that that's just the secondary, right? You won't invest too much or give too much credence to that, because you know that that's why. Let me tell you what this means in Scripture. Don't judge by appearances. Now, people think that simply means, on the one level, don't judge a person by how they look, right? Or, that's what the average person interprets that as. There's another level to that, though. Don't judge by appearances also means what appears in the external world. Don't give all of your judgment over to that, because it is secondary and it can change any moment depending upon the person's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It's subject to change. This whole world is a place where nothing but edits are happening every day. Let me give you an example of how this works. You know how many studies 20 years ago that said this food was this and that food was that, and then now it's, oh no, that food does this and that food does that. Or in science, it was concrete that we've done 20 million experiments, and this is what it is. Then all of a sudden, 20 years later, some quote-unquote new information comes up, and that study is no longer the basis for the scientific thesis anymore. Something's different about it. The reason that happens is because people's ideals about what's possible and what's not changes every day. So every day it's a constant tug of war between concepts and principles. Republican, Democrat, right? You name it. Whatever seems to be at odds is just the external representation of how people are constantly pulling and tugging on concepts mentally that appear in the physical world. So at any point in time, the unbelievable can happen, called Donald Trump as the president. You follow what I'm saying?
It sound like you're talking about the Mandela effect too, in a way.
Well, I was going to do some on the Mandela effect when it was really, really hot. But sometimes, man, I don't be having the energy to delve into stuff, man, because it's just not what it. Let me tell you if I can, real quick, just for y'all here so that you know. The Mandela effect, especially when you use the words, if you look at some of those examples, it's a lot of the words that get switched around in some of these phrases, like in some of these songs, when I was looking at it, are their personal words. It's I, we, us, these type of things, right? So whenever things are going on in the environment, we're watching movies, cartoons, whatever, if there's any personal words in it, we process the way that it's being conveyed to us differently when it's a personal overtone in the language, right? But see, here's the kicker, and this is why it becomes imperative to strengthen this hippocampus. Do you know how bad people's memories are? Man, let me tell you something. I had a neuroscience program on my old PC, and I had a membership called the Neuron Network. I would have people from the like y'all at the comfort of your home being able to view my screen. People were able to control my computer from their home, and I would have people practicing how to strengthen their cognitive ability. There was one game where they would show like 20 faces. Then they would give you a screen with like 35 faces. And they would say, pick out as many as you can that you just saw on the screen previously before this that were actually on the screen. Do you know how terrible people sucked at that game? They could not remember a face that they just saw 15 seconds ago. So what I'm saying is people are fascinated by the Mandela effect, and it's really simple. People's memory sucks. That's just the truth. Why? Because the neuroscience shows that in a lot of cases it's more healthier for us to forget so that we can take in new information that's beneficial for us in the now moment. So we have a way about ourselves as humans as forgetting a lot of things, right? Because then when you go Google it, it's clearly there. Like, no, that was there. No, but I don't remember it as such. But when you go look at it, you're like, damn, I don't remember it like that. But then you clearly see, well, damn, yeah, it was like that. So this is what I mean about strengthening our minds, right, and being able to have, another movie, total recall. Being able to have total recall, right, so that we can morph in and out as superhumans into different states of awareness and consciousness. So when Tesla memorized a poem where he committed it to memory intentionally, he was able to, all these different mechanisms came online with vision, because memory and vision, or inner vision, is associated with the same structure. So long story short, all you got to do, man, if it feels like okay, I'm not settling into this, right? Then you just slow down. You pump your brakes a little bit, right? You pump them a little bit, right? You get into some other things and just know, man, I always tell y'all this. I done told y'all this from the jump. This membership is a flex dual fuel operation. That's why I created Quantum Scriptures, because see, it's very much cousins to quantum imaging. It's quantum imaging is Jesus Christ. Quantum Scriptures is John the Baptist. They're cousins. They were in the womb at birth at the same time, right? So one automatically is going to lend credence to the other. So the moment that you start utilizing these principles, the spiritual component going to come online. That's just the product. That's just the process of how this works, man. And some people are more sensitive than others. Some people have, the electrical currents are a little bit more sensitive in different regions of the brain. You know what I mean? Just depending upon, your neurological makeup and some of the experiences that you had growing up. But like I said, you feel like it's like, okay, and you feel like you need to learn how to control it more. I think I got a song for that. I got to find it, though, man, that deals with honing your spiritual gifts. When I find it, maybe I'll talk about that on the next Quantum Scriptures conference call when you guys are invited, and we can kind of cover that subject matter on that call.
Cool. Appreciate you, Jew.
No problem. Anybody else got any questions or anything they want to share?
I have a question.
Yes.
Hey, Minister Jew, it's Erica. So my question goes back. Good. How are you?
Yeah.
Good. My question goes back to the slide where you had whatever you have in your consciousness at bedtime is what you're delivering to your lover, i.e. your subconscious. As we were going through that slide, it instantly took me back to yesterday. Yesterday, I had so many things going on, and I tried to, throw on – I like to listen to binaural beats on YouTube, so I tried to throw that on, but so many different things were running through my mind. And as I was thinking about these things and trying to go to bed, instantly the Lord's Prayer or the Child's Prayer, that prayer that says, now I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And, of course, there are different versions of it, but that was kind of instilled in my mind, and I wanted to get your take on that prayer, psalm, whatever it is, itself, because it's something that just keeps popping up throughout life. I don't know if it's with anyone else, but
you mean that particular prayer came into your consciousness or comes into your consciousness regularly? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like if I don't have any other way to deal with the situation and I'm about to go to bed, I just automatically say that one and go to sleep. Now I don't really know what the prayer truly means.
Well, repeat it again. Let's walk through it. Repeat the prayer again.
All right, well, the version that I know is, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take.
Okay. All right. So we know Lord, God, we're dealing with consciousness, right? And what this sounds like to me is this. If you're battling something throughout your day, right, which it sounds like you're battling something, you're having these thoughts about whatever is going on, right? You're looking for some sense of protection. That's really what it boils down to, right? A lot of times we can be in mental fights, right? We're in mental fights. It doesn't have to be physical, right? And so we're looking for some form of protection, some form of guidance, some type of, array of some sort to shine a light in an area where there may be some darkness. And this usually it's not always mental, because sometimes it does turn into physicality, but usually it always begins on a mental level. So what it sounds like to me is it's your go-to to ask for protection, right? Now, you probably heard it multiple times growing up. Other people have recited it around you, etc. So it's a part of your neurological hardwiring. Like that's your go-to. That's your like Jordan's go-to move was the fadeaway. You know you couldn't stop it. That seems like it's turned into your go-to from a long time of programming. What you should do is to become a little bit more specific, right? And maybe find you another prayer or psalm that deals with, rewriting or revision. I have to see if I can find one. But if you don't, right, you can say that prayer, right? Here's the tip. You can still say that prayer, but make sure you do a visualization of revision after you say that prayer, right? Because now that prayer is an instruction. But remember what I said, you can say something over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and over again, but you have to give the subconscious mind an image to work with. So you give it instruction. You give it instruction, right, which is through the words, which is the prayer. And then once you've completed the prayer, then you give yourself an image to follow that prayer. So whatever went bad that day or not so good or whatever the case may be, for 2 or 3 minutes, see it going in a way where that person apologized, or maybe you apologized because it was something that you did, right? Or, somebody, they didn't pay you correctly. You see them people paying you and paying you with interest. Like, even though the external world is giving you an entirely different take, I don't care. I've seen this time and time again. This is usually the biggest hurdle for people to get over, which is why I told G Street just now, when you realize that thought, images, and emotion is the cause, then you'll have no problem turning to consciousness as the solution. Because you know what you're doing now is hitting the rewind button on your old tape deck, and now you're pressing play from a different place on the cassette, so that now moving forward on that tape, there's a different storyline, and you should take adventurous feelings with you, anticipating seeing that particular situation show up. That's where the fun comes in at. Like Anfu always says, how do we make what we call quote-unquote coincidences happen? That's the fun part. You start to anticipate seeing your image materialize around you. So you got to kind of make it a game where it becomes worth playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool. That's dope. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else got any questions? We got some new people signed up. If you got any questions here, now's the time. Open your line, *6 to unmute your line. I'm taking questions. Anything y'all want to share, now's the time. I'd like to keep these at about an hour. We're a little bit over, about an hour and some change. And I think Ampu's class starts in about 40 minutes, if anybody here signed up for that. So I don't want to hold you guys here too much longer. But if there's any questions or anything y'all want to share, please press *6 to unmute your phones. Okay. All right. Well, it was a great class today. I hope you guys learned something and take this and apply it. This was recorded, so it will go out. You can always go back and listen to it. And be on the lookout for those new spreadsheets coming out with some of the commentary that we had last Thursday in a pop-up conference call dealing with the hatching of these eggs so that you guys can put them on your refrigerators, put them on your bedroom mirrors, wherever you got to put them to keep checking things off and keep monitoring your own behavior and your own actions inside of this membership. So we thank you guys, as always, for being participants inside of what it is that we profess to teach. Looking forward to some more testimonials from you guys this week coming up. You guys have a safe, lovely week.